we had a 3.1 magnitude earthquake in Glens Falls, New York, upstate New York. And we'll see that quakes are rattling the east coast of the United States and Canada the past few days. Let's take a look at the maps. We usually see USGS maps that don't show Canada, but you're going to be shocked when you see what's happening there. Here we are again at Seismo Berkeley, and this is our area right here, upstate New York. Magnitude 3.1. Shallow is about 6 miles down. And this is the USGS showing us what's going on. Let's go to the Canadian. Here we are. You can see all these quakes that have taken place. This is what we're talking about here, 3.1. They have it at a 3.7. Okay, you'll see that, you'll notice that USGS has it at 3.1. It's felt by about 2,500 people reporting felt it, so it must be like 8 to 10,000 that have felt it. Okay, 2,452 reported feeling it. They have it at 3.1. Okay, and here in Canada they have it at 3.7. So you take your pick. There are many times when we see that the Canadian geologists do not have the same magnitude as the USGS. USGS usually has a lot lower for some reason. The same thing with the European quakes. We had a European quake that was a lot lower, measured by, a lot lower by USGS for some reason. Now, again, going back to what happened there, this was a 3.1 on March 9th off of Maine, on Maine. And this is, again, 2.7. Maine. We know that we have 5 volcanoes in Maine. This is Quebec, Montreal, 3.2. Again, this was on the 6th. And you can see the amount of activity there. This was at one time a very huge supervolcano right here. Another one on the 19th of 3 magnitude. You can see the amount of activity there. And that's the west coast as well. Okay, and this is just the extension of the New Madrid seismic zone. This is the Quina Fault, the what we call the mid-continental rift. It's like a horseshoe shape. The west part goes all the way down through Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, and the east part of it goes right along, flanking on the east, right under basically the New Madrid seismic zone, which is a rift valley. So you have the continental United States splitting into 3 pieces. On the east of the New Madrid seismic zone, which is a rift valley, the Real Rift Zone, splitting here, going southeast. And then you have the middle section here between the Quina Fault of the mid-continental rift here and the New Madrid seismic rift. And that's the second part. Then the third part is this one here. Okay, so we have, and that's also because of the fact that the rift valleys, where you have rift valleys, you have magma underneath. The magma is pushing up and stretching the plate, making it thinner. Okay, so that's what the geology is there in large terms. 3.1, but 3.7 from the Canadians. Take your pick. All right. The Adirondacks. Beautiful places, lakes and forests and beautiful. You know, for these are the Finger Lakes, Cornell University, Ithaca is around there. A Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and this is, of course, the New Madrid seismic area. Okay, from here, from Mississippi, it goes all the way here, going up like this into the St. Lawrence Seaway. And let's go to our Google Earth. I've mapped some of the earthquakes. I couldn't map too many of them, but this is our earthquake, 3.1 of USGS, 3.7 by the Canadians. And you can see that we had the main earthquakes here, okay, offshore and onshore. We have the Quebec, these are the past week. And we also have this one, 3.7 Grand Banks of Newfoundland. And let's pull out, so you can see What's off there? We've said this many a time. This is the East Coast seamount. There are 30 volcanoes here. You can see they're pointing this way. And we've noticed that many a times when we have, this is the edge of the North American plate right here, the mid-Atlantic ridge. This is the end of the African plate right here. And this is the Eurasian plate right here. These are the Azores, and these are the Canary Islands, and these are, of course, all of these are volcanic islands. All of these are volcanic islands, and we have had earthquakes there recently, and we said we were wondering if that would affect the East Coast. Of course, the East Coast has its own mantle underneath to worry about. Oh, we just had an earthquake this past hour in Romania, 4.4. We also had one in Greece, but where is that? It's not plotted here. Anyway, 4.4. Okay. So we had one here, as we said, 5.2 in Morocco on the 7th, 3 days ago. And this one here, okay, on the 4.9. Okay. Okay, so this one, 5.2, and then 1 day later we had the 4.9. Actually, we had 3 of them. There was these 3 of the same day. And we do notice that we have, well, of course, we have, it's got its own mantle plume there. It's got its own magma, but still, we do see that sometimes we have pressure hitting here, and that could reverberate and jolt things down here because it's got the seamount right here that it affects. Basically, the seamount, as you can see, is stretching all the way here. That's the East Coast seamount, which is, you know, our Earth, when you come to realize it, it's not, everything is sort of interconnected. Okay, that's 1,600 miles, some odd. Yeah. Okay, and this is Maine. We said that Maine has 5 volcanoes. 4 of them are within a 100-mile area from one to the other. That's Maine right there. And you have, this is what we had as far as our activity is concerned, people feeling them. And I used to live in Montreal. I never even knew that I had cinder cones and volcanoes under my feet, really. I guess those mountains are, of course, that. Otherwise, they're just flat. But this is pretty big. Now, going to the East Coast, usually they don't know where the faults are because the earthquakes there are not that common. But they don't have the, I don't think they have the details for it. Oh, yes, they do. Okay. The tectonic summary, the Adirondack region of northern New York State, one of the more seismically active parts of the Northeast. The 3 largest known earthquakes in the region caused about 20 million damage in $2002 to Cornwall, Ontario, and Messina, New York. In 1944 with the 5.8 magnitude, caused slight damage in a sparsely settled part of the southern Adirondack Mountains. In 1983, 4.9, and damaged the vicinity of Plattsburgh, New York. April 20th, 2002, magnitude 5. Moderately damaging earthquakes strike somewhere in the region every few decades, and smaller earthquakes felt about once every 3 to 4 years. Earthquakes in the central and eastern U.S., although less frequent than in western, are typically felt over a much broader region. East of the Rockies, an earthquake can be felt over an area as much as 10 times larger than a similar magnitude earthquake on the west coast. A magnitude 4 eastern U.S. earthquake typically can be felt at many places as far as 60 miles from where it occurred, and it infrequently causes damage near its source, and a magnitude 5.5 eastern U.S. quake can be felt as far as 300 miles from where it occurred, and sometimes causes damage as far away as 40 kilometers. The faults. Earthquakes everywhere occur on faults within the bedrock, usually miles deep. Most of the Adirondack region's bedrock was formed as several generations of mountains rose and were eroded down over the last billion or so years. A well-studied plate boundary like San Andreas Fault System in California often scientists can determine the name of the specific fault that's responsible for the earthquake. In contrast, east of the Rocky Mountains, this is rarely the case. The Adirondack region is far from the nearest plate boundaries, which are in the center of the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. Okay, far from plate boundary. It does not mean that you don't have magma under there. We just said we had the mid-continental rift, which has magma underneath, and the geologists don't even know where the magma is coming from. But it's there. But the USGS does not refer to the fact that we have magma under there, and the fact that we have a seamount with 30 volcanoes there. So basically this area is between the seamount and the magma under the mantle plume of the mid-continental ridge, which is like a horseshoe shaped like this. Okay, in any event, we've seen an uptick in the earthquakes here, just as we've seen an uptick in the earthquakes on the New Madrid seismic zone, according to what geologists have told us. Yes, there is an increase in activity on the New Madrid seismic zone as far as earthquakes are concerned. So all of you there, please be very careful. Take your pick. It's either 3.1 or 3.7, according to Canadians. 3.1 US and 3.7 Canadians. It's a big difference. I'll leave links below for you for this. Thank you for your support. Please ring the bell for updated videos. Please comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.